Hello there. So I'm going to show you how to do the chained ladder stitch, and just a stitch video, so I'm not going to be showing you the whole project, but I just did a crochet chain cast on. It's the kind that I usually use, that I like, and it's on my YouTube channel. And I'll show you the edge I'm using, but of course you can use all kinds of edges. It's a really nice flat stitch. It doesn't curl. It looks like this on the back. On the front it looks like this. Got a lot of texture to it. The yarn I'm using is Mary Maxim Marvelous. The color is Sweet Stuff. It's a bulky yarn. It's 100% acrylic. So this is what I'm going to use to, of course now it's tangled. This is what I'm going to use to show you the stitch. Just want to get some yarn out so it doesn't tangle while I'm showing it and distract me. Okay, there we go. Okay, it's very easy to do. It's just, you're going to be working it in 2 peg pairs. So it's going to be even pegs, any amount that you want, and then whatever your edge stitch is. And I'm just going to do a simple edge stitch, so it's only 2 extra pegs for the edge, so it'll remain, you know, even with the 2 extra pegs. And I'm just going to show you how to do it. So I marked my peg pairs. I've got, there's my edge peg. I put a red marker on peg 1 and 2, no marker on peg 3 and 4, so I know they go together. Marker on peg 5 and 6, then no marker, marker. So I know which ones go together. And I'm always going to be wrapping the same 2 peg pairs. Always the same. So whatever way you want to code them. Now the first peg, I just do a U-wrap. So a U-wrap, knit it over. Then I take the yarn from peg 1 and I move it over to peg 2 like that. Working yarn is behind, and I snug it up. Not really tight, but just snug it up so that it's not loose. I go back behind and wrap over peg 1 and 2, and then I knit off peg 2. And that's it. Next 2 peg pair, you wrap it. Take the yarn, the loop, move it over onto peg 2, snug it, come back over, wrap around, and knit off peg 2. Okay, I'll get close, you can see it. You wrap peg 1, take the working yarn from peg 1, and as you see it stretches out, so very easy to move. You can make it as big as you want, and then you snug it up, go back and wrap peg 1 and 2 and knit off peg 2. Go to peg 1, knit it, take the yarn, move it to peg 2, snug it up, go back, wrap peg 1 and 2, knit it off, over peg 1, knit it off, take the loop, put it on peg 2, snug it up, wrap around and knit it off. And then all I'm doing for my edge stitches is I'm going over in a U-wrap, knitting it off, coming back loosely, knitting over. Then I'm doing my first knit going this way, taking the working yarn off peg 1. Now that we're going this way, this is peg 1, this is peg 2, moving it onto peg 2, snugging it up, and knitting it over. That's all you do. So knit over, take the loop, put it on peg 2, snug it up, come back, knit off peg 2, knit peg 1, take the loop, put it on peg 2, snug it up, wrap over them, and knit it off. Knit off peg 1, take the working yarn, move it, peg 2, snug it up, wrap peg 1 and 2, knit them off. Knit them, move it over, snug it up, knit it off, and the end peg, come back loosely wrapping the end peg and knit it over. Okay, I'm going to take another look at it. How it's going to look when you get it off. Here it's stretched on the loom. When you get it off, it all comes together like this. So it has this really nice textured look. So it'd be good for all kinds of things. Blankets, scarves. It works just fine in the round. In the round, what happens is we're coming the one way doing the stitch, and when we come back we're going the same way. So it'll have a little less curve, but it will look very similar. So because it's so textured, it would give it a nice a warmth and really textured look. Here's how it looks from the other side and how it looks from the back. If you were to do it with heavy yarn on a instead of a 3/4 inch, let's say you're using a 1/2 inch or smaller, and you made this stitch really tight, it would give you a very tight fabric, because you can see from this side that you're getting a fairly dense fabric. If you were to do it more lacy, this is the kind of look you would get. So if you used a really thin yarn and wanted to make a lace with it, so you used let's say you used a number 3 or a thin number 4 on a gauge like this, you'd get more of a look like this. So it would look more lacy. So I'm just going to go ahead a little bit so you can really see how it looks like, because it's still stretched a little bit on the loom, and then we will catch up. Okay, I've done a few more rows, so now you can see how it's looking here. So it's a fairly a dense type of fabric, but you can see if you put your fingers in here, here's where these are joining. So I'm just going to bind it off, and then we can take a look at how it looks. So I'll just pause while I bind it off, and then we'll take a look at it. Okay, I bound it off, and I just used a stretchy type of bind off. So as you can see, it is actually a nice flat piece of work. All I did is bind it off. I didn't do any other stitches or anything. Oh, here we go. Here's where I bound it off. I used a stretchy bind off. And where I cast it on, I just cast on. I did one row of owl eye before I started, and that gave it this kind of look. That would be similar to that look of the stretchy bind off. When it came off, it the sides, you saw the way that I did the sides, they just have this kind of a very nice tight chained kind of edge, but it's not chained like when you do a slip stitch. A different kind of a look, but it's tighter, it doesn't snag on things. I like it better. And there, there's how it looks that way. There's how it looks that way. And so it is a nice dense fabric. You can see these little lines here. It gives it quite a nice definition. And here's the back. So it would be really good for a blanket, and it certainly goes faster. Maybe you could do a few rows of this in a blanket and then do just an owl-eye stitch or some other kind of stitch. It doesn't curl, so it'd be ideal to use for strips in something like owl-eye that doesn't curl either. Then you wouldn't have to use any purls at all, whatever you're doing. And if you want it more lacy, use a real thin yarn. It's still going to work to do that. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this video. I just think this is a really cool stitch, and I'm thinking of all kinds of things I can do with it and use it for. So I'll probably be coming up with some patterns soon using it. Okay, so until we see you again, bye.